Hey guys, welcome to the stream. I'm going to go to part two, I guess, which is, I might have to change this, part two. Sorry about that, guys. So what this is, it's a continuation of let's have a look. It's a continuation of the music video that I've been working on. So what I did was started playing some of the song and essentially what we're doing is doing a very simple, I guess, naturalistic type music video. I didn't want to go too stylized or, kind of throw down some big camera moves or anything like that. I kind of like the idea of disappearing as a camera maker. I think I'm experimenting at the moment with videography where the shots kind of and the camera work is sort of secondary or almost non-existent. I think when you pull camera work into a shoot and really call attention to it, I think that kind of pulls people out and it lifts them out of them being able to observe what they're watching and sort of focus too much on, the technique. So what I've done is I've gone into the first clip and what I'm doing is I think I'm working my way from our coverage of wide angle, which I think is a good idea. I've noticed that it's actually a good idea to shoot wide from start to finish, maybe change the angle or change the framing, still stay wide, shoot it again, in this case, him sitting on his couch, and then do it again and again. So essentially, once we have all the wide shots out of the way, we can then pick what we want out of that, what we think is kind of like ideal out of the wide shot, and then work our way down into the close-ups and then work into the close-ups that don't include Steve and have things where he's not necessarily facially in the shot. So he might have close-ups of the guitar, him strumming, and then we'll leave some gaps in the music video, which then means that we are focusing on his footage, which was of his family from the 90s. And I think he took an old camera, from what I remember, Video 8 cameras were around in the late 80s, early 90s before they started to kind of disappear. And we started seeing other formats until we just saw straight SD and compact flash. But let's just have a look. I'm going to stop talking and we'll sort of hear the song a little bit. That way we kind of get an idea of, well, what's the song about? So let's do that. I'm going to stop talking and we'll go with the song now. Let's try that again. Okay. So we kind of get what's going on, don't we? We sort of see that I've picked a couple of clips out of this first video. So if I have a look, they're here. Now, what we're going to find is that this is basically the song recorded start to finish. And the way we recorded it, or put simply, we had his song playing during this film clip, and he was just obviously, giving us the miming. And what we're looking for, I guess, is, these little moments that we think will work, and just matching these moments to the actual song itself. And I think an easy way to do that is to actually play the song. In my case, I'll just hear it. So bombs are falling in the name of peace. So we find the same section there. And what will happen... Okay. Okay, so what we're finding is that that's where we're up to in the song. And then what I can do is obviously just watch and find what I think we can use, what we think is good. So let's try that. So can anyone really tell me is a part of the song that I'm liking? So what we'll do is the following. We'll just kind of go in, and once we find that, can anyone really tell me? Let's have a look. So, okay, let's have a look. So can anyone really tell me? And then let's just try that again. So what I'm trying to do now is find, where's that in the song? And let's just hear it. Okay, so we do a 3-point edit, and it goes a little bit like this. So we know the song is Can Anyone Really Tell Me? Now, what we're going to do is decide, in this 3-point edit, we've got the out point where we think it should happen in the song. We've got the out point out here. And then we're going to backtrack a little bit and decide, is there a moment that we want to start here specifically? Or is there a moment that we want to start specifically here? It's going to be either or. It can't be both. So when we're marking a 3-point edit, we've got to choose an out point an in point, an out point, an in point, and remove one of those. So we've basically got an out point already, got an out point here. Now, what do we choose in amongst this? Now, one of the reasons why I'm turning the song on and off, sorry about this, is because I still haven't worked out during these podcasts or whatever. My mic, unfortunately, is feedbacking into the speakers, which is a bit of a pain, to be honest. So generally speaking, I'm having to turn the mic down and all the rest of it. So in fact, I have a feeling I forgot to turn it on then. So I might have just dropped out there. But essentially what's happening is, we're having trouble playing the audio while at the same time, because ideally I wouldn't have the audio feeding out into the speakers, just out into the broadcast. But anyway, that's a technical glitch that I've got to deal with eventually. Long story short, what we want to do is find the out point, which we've found here in the song. We've found the out point here, although that technically could change and we just focus on the in point. But let's just hear the song from about here and decide if we want to find an in point or do we want to find an in point here. Sometimes it's actually better to find the in point on the song itself. So let's just have a look. Okay. So now what we do is we can mark that if we wanted to, and then put an in point. So press the I key to add the in point, press the M key to add the marker. Now, what we've done is we've found an in and an out that we're feeling will work for this section. It's pretty important to kind of probably sit here and play this over and over and kind of pick your shot, I think, and take your time rather than just sort of smack everything down as quickly as possible only to find later that it doesn't quite work. So I generally find that you're better off pick your moments and then listen to things in real time. So let's just try it again. Okay, so what I was doing now was very simple. Essentially, what I was doing was using my shift and up arrow to jump to this scene to start, and obviously pressing the space bar to play the song. Then I can also nudge the clip by pressing the Alt key and the left or right arrow to move the clip one frame left or one frame right. Incidentally, I've only got this track selected. So basically, the reason why we're only adding the video and not the audio is because I've got track selection on the V1. And what this generally does is this side is generally designed to actually say to Adobe, please use this track to place the video clip. And I'm pressing the full stop or the period key, which is next to the colon, the comma. So put simply, the full stop means that you're just dropping the video, and it's because of this. Now, when you start doing this type of thing, what this is designed to do is allow you to tell Adobe to pay attention to these tracks and allow you to do, like, for example, jump between your clips by pressing the up arrow and the down arrow. I'm jumping between the two, as you can see. So if I press up arrow, I'm jumping to the end of the next clip, and I'm jumping to the start of the following clip. But if I remove that, all of a sudden, well, actually it does work. Well, anyway, put simply, it won't, I don't think, let me jump to the next. Well, it is working anyway. Adobe's one of those stupid programs, quite frankly. But this this here is designed to tell Adobe where you want the tracks to drop. It is about what we call focusing on the track. And there's obviously ways of focusing. We'll come to it when we need to worry about it. But right now, the focusing's even got me confused at the moment. It seems to be a bit buggy. I've noticed I can't remove markers right now. So I've put something on the forum to get that sorted out. But essentially what you're meant to be able to do is place your marker by pressing the M key, remove a marker by pressing Control, Alt, and M, but that's not working at the moment, even when you're on the marker itself. And then, of course, you want to jump to the next marker, jump to the previous marker, and I've got them mapped to my Tartarus keyboard from Razer. But in any case, what we're trying to do now is just make sure that that's sitting where it needs to. And the best thing I can suggest here is we just choose this as an optional clip and then decide if we want to keep adding any more from this song. So remember, this is the wide angle, first take of the wide angle, and we're just going through and seeing if there's anything in here that we like. Okay, so the next step then, without a doubt, is just by looking at what we're going through at the moment, um, we're going to have to mark the song a little bit more. It's not going to be too hard. It's going to be pretty straightforward. But we want to say, for example, work between here and here and decide what we're going to do. So, and even the intro, we sort of think to ourselves, well, what are we going to do for the intro? And we're going to start with some old clips, I think. So we've got some footage of his old video 8 that we're going to go with. So, but what we need to do now is start looking at, well, what's going on in this music video in terms of the lyrics and the verse and everything like that. So that's what we need to do, is we need to start marking our song. So the best thing we can do now, I use the tilde key, which is the key above the tab key, just to open it up and expand it. So when you press tilde, you the selected panel is expanded to full screen, and that's the one, as I said, directly above the tab key and next to, on the left hand side of the number 1. That's the tilde key. And then to go to full timeline, to stretch that out, is the backslash. So just press the backslash. That's the one above the enter key. And that one there allows you to do this. So what we're going to be doing now is playing the song. The very next thing we're going to do now is start marking everything. Any markers that we're not happy with will be removed. And we will probably do the color orange, let's say, for, that's me, my brother. And we're going to do that for everything else. The beginning of the song, we're going to leave that alone for now. Looks like we're going to start with the video 8 footage, start blending in between it and everything else. So let's do that now.
It's a mystery. 'Cause it's a mystery.
Okay, so that was that. Obviously, I've got to still work out what I'm doing with these speakers because basically I'm having a problem with the feedback, unfortunately. So, yeah, I've got to sort of learn how to remap everything properly. I might have to change a few things in here, but essentially, when I'm using the mic, these two speakers that are here are unfortunately capturing the feedback and then obviously amplifying everything, so it becomes a feedback loop. Anyway, what we've done is we've marked this entire song and literally decide on what we think, well, at least given us some milestones on what we think we need to be doing. And, you know, we can see here, start of the song, okay, when he says okay. So we want to capture that. We want to know, when do we have him definitely in the shot? When do we see his face or expression? Then we might even mark moments in time where we think, so we might have a different color. So orange, for example, in our case, is a label that we might suggest is when Steve's in the shot, and then we might have another marker that tends to suggest, for example, the video 8 footage, and then we'll have, let's say, other markers depicting other things, close-ups and what have you. This is a good way to kind of map out what you're doing on the song using markers, and I think it works well for that kind of thing, color coding, what we think we need. And in this case, we go into Edit, Preferences, and then go into Label Colors, and we can rename them, and we can choose the color as well. So you can go in and rename your labels, which will help you quite a bit. And let me just double check what the default. So, when you create a new bin, what color is it? When you create a new sequence, when you create a new video, audio, you can pick your defaults as well. So that's how that works. And essentially, you need to basically go through the whole song, listen to it, and mark what you think you're going to do. Even the intro. And it's a lot better to do this than to actually go through the video itself necessarily, because what you want to do is be able to have a bit of an idea of the song and where everything sits, instead of where I started to lose myself, as you could see earlier. It wasn't good. So you don't want to be doing that. I just cleared the in and out there. Now, so what we can see is we need to, hover over this, and we know that it's Sunflowers Die. And that sounds like an important moment in the song. So the last thing we want is nothing, and, going off and looking at something random. Having said that, we might decide that Sunflowers Die, do we cut between Steve and his video 8 footage? I think the way to do this is to think of it like a painting. We kind of lay down our videos that we think need to be in place, and then gradually work our way around. So basically, let's have a look at it. We're going to look at the very first thing here, which is Sunflowers Die. So what we can do is look at the video and possibly even mark everything in the video, so we just know where it is. That would be one way to do this. And then what we can do is decide, what part of the clip are we using? And then what we can do is go to the next video and see if that's got what we want. So this is probably where I'll stop this, because I'm just going to go through and watch all these clips. What I'm trying to do now is make sure that I've got, say, for example, all these questions needs to be also in here somewhere. So there you go, all these questions. You know, even in here, we might just go, it's a mystery. So we'll listen to the song, it's a mystery, it's a mystery, it's a mystery, which we should find is in there. Let's have a look.
I watch you breathing and it hits so hard to me. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. It's a mystery.
So you can see what I'm doing there. The idea is that we've got the markers in place to kind of tell us where everything is in the song. And the other option you've got is to get a bit more of a feel of it, is to essentially start putting it together a little bit by little, but at least you know where everything sits. And that's kind of what you need to be doing. So once you know that, it doesn't mean now that I've got to mark exact points. That's not what the orange markers are for. The markers are there to prompt me, and it doesn't mean that because I've marked here, I've now got to match these markers to there. That's not the point of it at all. The markers are there just to go, okay, it's a mystery, it's a mystery, it's a mystery. And so we know he says it 4 times. We'll just double check that he actually says it there as well. So I just kind of go here. So he does. And that's what we're looking for is, where does he say it's a mystery? And then he says it, second time, third time, fourth time. So we know what we've got in there. And then what we do is we just keep going through this clip. And one other thing I could do is place a marker where, for example, a white marker in my project might mean that there's a good pan that I like, but at the same time I can mark. So a white pan, let's just do it. Let's show what that's all about. So the easy thing to do now is to start matching the markers within reason. So for example, if I go through each clip I can start to see, okay, that's a white marker. So Saturday I face the southern stand. And what I can do now is try to see if I can find it here. So there's the song Moment and go like that. And so basically what that tells me is we get to this moment in the song.
Saturday, I face the southern stand. Saturday, I face the southern stand.
So what I've gone for instead here is I've marked my out point. So I want this to be the out. And then if we look in here, we should find that we're pretty close. So let's have a look. So I've dropped it in with the full stop. So what's happened with the 3-point edit is we have the out point, the in point. So we've told Adobe that we want this to be the out point. There it is. We want whatever, this is the in point, and it will randomly pick it here. Well, it won't randomly, it will actually go backtrack that much time. So let's just have a look at what that actually looks like.
Saturday, I face the southern stand.
So you can see how well that can work with the 3-point edit. I think the 3-point edit, especially when you do the in point, out point in the song itself, so you kind of decide what's the in point and the out point in the song without even visually knowing what you're getting necessarily as a start point from the other clip. You can see that even without the song playing, it looks right. There's just something about it. You know, you just know the cadence and the pacing that you need and do it all in real time. And it's kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. I think a music video is like putting together a 300-piece jigsaw puzzle, or, you know, however many clips you think you're going to have. Because let's face it, a music video is going to be made up of 50 clips or, 60 cuts, cut clips. And what you want to emphasize is what's going on in the camera rather than the cutting. So as when you're editing, it's almost like you're trying to show off with your editing, like you're at a skate park and all the kids are watching, but you're not really doing that as an editor. As an editor, technically speaking, it's one of those jobs that you're not supposed to get noticed, even though you're doing a great job of it. Same with sound engineering. Sound engineer or a sound designer or Foley sound, they don't want to draw too much attention to themselves. If you suddenly get, if you start, wondering what a sound effect is, or if something doesn't sound right, it means you haven't achieved your job as a sound engineer, sound mixer, or in this case, sound editor, or Foley sound or whatever. But you get the point. It's one of those jobs where highly skilled individuals are almost seamlessly hidden. So we can see that slowly but surely what we've got to do is mark everything, mark all the clips and get a feel for what we're doing, and then, marry it up slowly but surely. We sort of look at each clip and then go, okay, I think that's going to fit there, and just use your markers initially to kind of give you an idea of where everything belongs, and then eventually drop the odd clip in, and slowly but surely you piece it together to be complete. That's the best way to go. And I'm finding that that's pretty much the right method. Luckily on the shoot, just to reiterate, it would have been really bad if we had just been moving the camera around sort of too much. we went for very slow pans. When we get to the end of a pan move, we pan down slow again, so that there was none of this, big sweeping moves that you kind of have to knock out and delete, or mark as erroneous in the clip. So this whole clip, I know, is usable by and large. If there was anything in this where I felt it was completely wrong, I would mark it in the color red, and I would state what's wrong. Like, for example, he's yawning, or he's, the dog's jumped in the way, or something else, or, a fly's flown past him or something. But in this case, we don't have that issue, which is good. We literally had a good clean clip. And so now I would go through each one and start to, like I said, pull sections out like we have been. That's kind of how we have to do this. And then we'll find that with each marking, we've now got every single clip literally marked. Now, the clips, as we went further down in the shoot, got shorter and shorter. So the first 5 or 6 of the longer, wider coverage, then we started zooming in a bit more, and then zooming in a bit more. So it's a good idea to kind of look at the wider coverage and decide, well, when do you want to go wide? When's a good time for that to happen? And as you listen to the song, you start to get a sense of when the wide shot should be there. And then decide, when do you cut in? And obviously, you would cut in definitely on a high emotion point. It's kind of silly to have someone pouring their heart out at a key moment in the song, and you're wide further back. That's kind of pointless, or kind of pointing to something unimportant. Especially when the singer-songwriter is in the music video themselves. So we'll sort of get a feel for it though. And there's nothing wrong with, of course, planting one of the videos down, and then maybe later on, one of the clips or one of the cuts, and then deciding later, actually, I'll swap that out. So even now, I would just keep listening to this song and then decide where everything belongs. That'll be the next kind of step. And we'll sort of have everything marked out. Like I said, sunflowers die. We can sort of jump to these points, whether we just double click or use the shortcuts. So the next step would be to look at, each song. Like I said, this one doesn't go for as long as you can see. I think it only goes for, does it go for 5 minutes? Yeah, it looks like it does. So that's the next step. Is some of these markers might even change because they don't have any notes on them. So I can just double click them and then start adding notes, changing the color and everything else. If I think, for example, there's nothing happening, it's just guitar and there's, it's the beginning, then, we'll sort of work that out. But definitely right now, what we're focusing on is Steve. So I think getting down those shots is critically important. Getting down the shots for Steve and when he's in the film clip. Then we'll go secondary, which is, shots that don't include Steve but have, for example, the guitar playing and whatnot. And then eventually we'll get to the stage where we're really focusing on the videos that we've got, which is the video 8 footage, and we'll get those down. But like I said, right now we're just piecing it together. Eventually we'll get to a stage where we've got, 3 to 4 to 5 times as many of these purple ones. And what we might also do is color coordinate everything. So purple will now mean that it includes Steve, and a different color would mean the guitar or something. In here, we can actually right click and relabel the color to something else. So then we know, for example, that Steve is all the purple clips, orange is the clips of guitar or instrument, and then we might have another color for the video 8. So all the video 8 footage, which is, the stuff from the early 90s that they filmed. And so that'll be a different color. So then we just know by visually looking that we've got different clips. And more importantly as well, you don't have to always drop all your footage on the one layer. We can have video 1, track 1. So video track 1 is Steve. Track 2 might be guitar close-ups and cutaways. And then track 3 might be the video 8. And as long as they all kind of don't leave black gaps between them, then you're good to go. You just turn on snapping so that you can snap between. So we'll have 3 layers just all, sitting where they need to. And then, of course, you've got everything organized in that sense. So like I said, video track 1 is Steve in purple. Video track 2, close-ups of guitar, and that could be a different color. Video track 3, yet another color, whichever one you choose for the cutaways. So that'll be what's coming up. But in the meantime, I think it's going to be helpful if I actually mark out all these. It's going to be based on the moment in time for the song. And once I've done that, next part 3, you'll at least be able to say, okay, now we're just kind of putting things in and let's see what we've got. So cool. We'll talk to you. We'll see you again soon.